Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Midcast, the podcast where I talk about the security in video games and anything else that interests me. So, from last episode, if you remember, we talked a little bit about video game practices, the industry practices, and how they're sort of predatory to consumers. There's actually been a bit of an update on that I wanted to get to just real quick before we dive into today's topic. Fortnite, a game I mentioned with the Battle Pass and stuff, is actually getting sued for $500 million, or I think somewhere around 520 million, something like that. Which is, that's a lot of money. They're getting sued for about $500 million for deceptive practices and kind of coercing children into buying their products, basically, in a predatory manner. At least from my understanding. Now, moving on to a couple of formalities. It is currently the 20th of December when I'm recording this. So, Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a good holidays. If you don't celebrate Christmas, then yes, happy holidays. It's been pretty good for me so far. I'm looking forward to the 25th, of course, as many of you are. And I think that's a good segue to our first topic. Crime. No, I'm not. I'm kidding. It's not that good of a segue. When I say crime, I don't just mean, robbing a bank sort of crime. I mean crime in video games. This is a very interesting topic that I came across during, I think it was my bachelor's degree in one of my classes that I was taking at the time. If you're aware of games like World of Warcraft or Runescape or other large, massively online multiplayer games, you're aware that you can chat to other players, right? And, this is just a basic function that the majority of multiplayer games have, where you can just chat to other players that are either within your vicinity or in the same world, so to speak. With that said, in games like World of Warcraft specifically, it came to my attention that players will get their characters, and they will meet up with each other in more remote places of the game, and actually communicate in kind of like a more of a code word sort of sense, like criminal activity essentially. I know that one of the biggest examples was they were basically selling information and using World of Warcraft as like a chat room of sorts. Of course, World of Warcraft and RuneScape do monitor their chat, but given that it was, not only in code, like kind of code words, using words that kind of obscure the true meaning, it's just massively multiplayer game, so the chat logs are huge with millions upon millions of messages. So the chances of them getting caught out or even investigated is quite low in a game like that. Which is fascinating, very fascinating, actually. You kind of think, oh yeah, that probably happens, but you don't realize that it actually happens a lot, or it used to, so to speak. I'm not sure if criminals really use this sort of tactic to communicate with each other these days. But if they do, it's not that bad of an idea. At least it wasn't originally. I'm not sure how well the whole monitoring system of chat rooms or the game chat generally is these days. But back in 2006, quite some time ago, 2007, it was not monitored nearly as heavy as it is today, I would imagine, making it a very interesting kind of weird gray area to communicate for criminal reasons. And I'm also aware that RuneScape, even to this day, has some of that going on, but it's a little different where they're not really using chat to discuss criminal activity. They are selling digital gold coins. I think Venezuelans specifically. I remember reading an article about this. People in Venezuela, they can make more money selling RuneScape gold than they make at their jobs, which is both sad and mind-blowing at the same time. I'm sure you can find lots of articles if you were interested in this. It goes quite deep. There are lots of people who were interviewed and like how they kind of make gold in RuneScape and how they manage to sell it for real life money. It's a crazy thing that people can make lots of money selling items that don't exist. If you're familiar with a game I mentioned last episode, Team Fortress 2 is a very popular game, even to this day, and it is about, I think, 15 years old. If my math is serving me well here. And its digital items are some of the most expensive, just ever. For the most part, I'm pretty sure there are some outliers of games that I'm not too familiar with, but I do know CSGO, another game, has very expensive items as well, ranging in the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, which, like, I kind of get the appeal, right? It's a very lucrative item that only exists in a quantity of one or maybe two at most. But not being able to actually physically touch a rare item seems strange. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. The fact that they can, I mean, mind you, it is against the RuneScape policy for you to sell RuneScape gold for like real life money. It is completely against their policy, and I'm sure there's some sort of law in place that says something about that. In the title of this podcast episode, you probably see the word exploits and cheating as well. And if not, whoopsies, I forgot to put them in the title. Hopefully I didn't, though. But exploits and cheating are two very different things in video games specifically. But a lot of people get them mixed up, sort of. Is exploiting in a game cheating? Technically speaking, if you say cheating in a game is breaking the rules, then yes. But is it cheating in the sense of they are doing something to, you know what? No, I just argued myself out of a point I was trying to make. That's very interesting. Yes, I do think exploits are cheating, but I don't think cheating is exploits. Oh, that's strange. Mainly because I think you can cheat in a game without actively exploiting it. Okay, it depends on the definition, because you can't exploit, like, I'm trying to think of an example, because you can't exploit chess, right? I don't think you could do that. But a game like, example, Team Fortress 2, because I'm just very familiar with this game, if you haven't guessed already. There are exploits in the game to, get out of your intended area of battle. And, do whatever you want to do, get into the other team's territory and spawn camp them and do all these other things. But it's not like the player injected anything extra into the game to do that. That is purely because of a issue within the confines of the game. I would say cheating is more or less like something that was not in the game originally that you are actively using to gain an advantage, right? Now tell me, in the comments here, what would you define that as? Because I feel like there's a lot of just different definitions you could have for cheating and exploits in video games. There's a lot of room for, interpretation. That is a very interesting thought process. Maybe or maybe I'm just overthinking. I'm overanalyzing something. But that's the fun of it, right? With that said, though, moving back to my kind of main point here. Cheating and exploits in games have just kind of been around for a while. If you've been in the scene for any amount of time, you've probably seen someone cheat, someone use an exploit, and it has just been around for some time. And in games like Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch or Fortnite or all these other games, it is somewhat common, especially these days with the growing availability of cheats, especially, to just see something that does not belong, right? So you have your aim bots, your automatic aims. You have your wall hacks where you can see through walls. You have your speed hacks where you move far faster than the game intended. Although, I don't see speed hacks very often anymore. I know they have existed in the past, although I just don't think they are as prevalent as they would be like maybe 10 or so years ago. I'm curious. Tell me if you've seen any speed hacks in a game recently, within the last year or two. I genuinely can say for sure I have not seen one in probably about 7, if not 8. Probably going on 8. Around the same time I started playing Team Fortress 2. I believe I saw a speed hack once, and then it got like the kind of vulnerability exploit that it was like preying on got patched, I believe. Very interesting. But yes, they have been around forever, for as long as video games have existed. Someone wants to cheat to get the advantage, right? But why? Right? Like, everyone wants to win, right? I want to win a game if I'm playing it. You want to win a game. But I never understood. Do people get joy out of this? Do they get a satisfaction knowing that they won, even if it is at the cost of being dishonest? Like, I understand more like if it's a competitive game and that you're actually getting money out of it, right? Because it's money. That's something that you can physically use to now survive better, get things that you want to get. But why would you cheat in an environment where you get nothing for winning except the satisfaction of winning? Doesn't that defeat the purpose? Perhaps I just can't understand the mindset of it, right? But again, another interesting kind of thought experiment here is why? Maybe if you've cheated in a video game before, we can start a discussion about like what was the main purpose. I do know I have spoken to someone who has cheated in the past, and one of the biggest things was they weren't very good at the game. And obviously in online communities, people can get pretty mean if you're not good at something. And they wanted to cheat in order to basically look better at the game. It was kind of a validation thing. And I can see that being actually quite prominent, especially these days. With kind of being really good at games, being very competitive at video games, being almost an all-time high. Although that's competitive gaming is a topic for maybe next episode. I've been meaning to talk about that at some point. I have a lot of opinions on competitive gaming, but anyway. Cheating generally. Let's use Team Fortress 2 as an example. There's many different types, many different things going around. But something I have not seen until maybe the past 3 years, 3 years ago it kind of started, is using AI to have all these essentially fake players in a game, bots, if you will, to just essentially flood the game and ruin the experience for your normal person. And this is I'm not even really sure what to tell you about this one. This one is very malicious at heart, it feels. It feels that the people who do this are extremely angry at either the player base or the developers of the video game. I'm aware that there's a huge botting problem in Team Fortress 2, CSGO, and I believe Valorant to some extent. Although I may have to double check on that one. And something that is very, very strange about this botting thing, right, is it's not like cheating normally, where it is still you, the player, but you're just using, these scripts to essentially get a better result and win more often. But what does botting achieve? I'm aware that they can often see the chat logs through their kind of like massive bots that they have set up and kind of see the reactions of other people. And it seems like, from what I've gathered, is they just purely thrive off of reactions, which is honestly kind of sad, if you ask me. That, like, why would people go out of their way to ruin an experience for other people for reactions? I feel like if you want validation. You want attention. You would physically want to be playing the game to no middleman here, just receive that attention, right? But what is the point of running thousands of these fake hollow AI players instead of just doing it yourself? Now, I'm not supporting it. I'm not saying you should go out there and go cheat in a game yourself, but I feel like wouldn't that just be a more enjoyable experience for you to do that, and not a thousand fake players doing it for you? It's such we keep getting deeper and deeper into this strange cheating rabbit hole in video games. I'm not really sure what to make of it. It's only expanded as the years have gone by, and it's only gotten worse and worse and worse, and more advanced too, maliciously so. I said that a little earlier, but it seems that people will make these things for the pure reason of just spiting other people. It's not even for themselves anymore. It is just to be mean. That's kind of crazy to me. I couldn't fathom what you get out of that anymore. Because you're not winning anything. You're not even getting the satisfaction of winning yourself. You're making other basically just pieces of code do it for you. You get nothing. It is such a nothing thing to do. And speaking of nothing, cheating in video games, like I said, very old concept. It's been around since basically video games existed. And despite how old it is, there's been no one solution to cheating. And in cybersecurity, if there are any cybersecurity people out there watching this, you're very aware of the fact that a company who needs to prevent the cheating, they need to win against the cheaters every single time. Or in the cybersecurity case, hackers. The defense has to win every single time. The hackers or cheaters need to win once. Only once. And maybe with cheaters specifically, it's a little different. But you, as the defense, as the company preventing the cheaters will evolve with anything you put in front of them. So you are always just going to be one step behind them. And this is very evident in just about every popular example of cheating. Is, they'll release a patch or they'll do something that is hey, we tried to fix this. And the fix will work. It'll work for a month. Maybe 2 to 3 weeks at best. Or at worst, I should say. And, after that time's up, the cheats are back. These people are using their scripts again. They're using their exploits. They're using whatever. They found something new that works for them. And this is really an never-ending cycle, essentially. You or I, or the defense here, the companies, will probably never win against cheaters in video games. Which is a bit of a shame, but it's to be expected, right? People will do what they want to do, whether you like it or not. And the only people out there trying to fix this are a very limited team of people, typically. Maybe, 20, maybe 100 people, which, 100 people sounds like a lot for a anti-cheat team or a defense team, whatever you want to call it. But when it's 100 people, versus thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people developing these new scripts to inject into the game to get their cheats a little bit different way that remains undetected, you are playing a very one-sided game, which is again unfortunate. But speaking of cheats and hacks, it's a very clear difference between the two that a lot of people often mix up that I kind of wanted to clarify very quickly. Scripts is often what you see in video games traditionally. When someone says, "Oh, they're hacking," they mostly mean, "Oh, that guy's using a script." Because hacking entails that you are going out of your way to, get into the system. If you're finding vulnerabilities in a network, you are hacking the system. These people in these games, they are merely just injecting a code that wasn't made by them. They, downloaded or bought it offline, and it does everything for them. It is a script that they basically have no full understanding of, essentially. A good example of, an actual hack, an actual exploit, is if you're familiar, not too long ago, actually, Minecraft had a huge security vulnerability known as the log4j vulnerability. What I believe this did was when you loaded up a Minecraft server, online server, it essentially just allowed people to inject code directly onto other people's systems or computers, which is that's crazy for like a game that big with that many people. An exploit that huge, that kind of caused a lot of problems. I'm pretty sure it did as well. Although, luckily, Minecraft being owned by Microsoft themselves, the security almighty, they got it done pretty quickly. They released patches very, very quickly. Which is fortunate because of something of that magnitude, a hack that bad that could have been exploited, is something you gotta look out for. Which is why I recommend you who uses the same password for every account that you have, please don't do that. Trust me. I can give you a little story into why. I've actually had a personal experience. When I was younger, I used the same password for everything. Everything. I have since changed that, but I'll tell you why. My Twitch account, which I don't use as much as I should, was hacked because it uses the same password as everything. And it took me, I think, 2 months of trying to contact Twitch support in order to, get my account back. It turns out the reason that account of mine was targeted is I have Twitch Prime. It's basically a free $5 to whoever hacks it, which is a pretty pathetic amount of money just to go out of your way to hack an account for it. But hey, they probably hacked thousands of accounts and get $5 from each of them, right? So that's a lot of money for them. So they're the winners in this situation. And after that, I changed my password to something very long, very complex. And I ended up doing that with just about every one of my accounts. And since then, I have not been hacked. Thank God. It is always a nightmare to deal with getting your account compromised by malicious users, especially when they change your password to your email and making it super difficult and convoluted to get your account back. Thankfully, support is often very nice, especially with like Google. Google support has always been pretty decent in terms of like getting my Gmail back. But I will say YouTube, Twitch, a lot of the big social media platforms, their customer service is rather poor when it comes to getting your account back, which is quite the shame. Even in video games, your account can be compromised quite easily if you use the same password for everything, because all it takes is one person to find your password, and they basically have the key to every single other account that you may have. And losing hundreds of dollars of video games on Steam, or hundreds upon thousands of dollars digital items in a game that you play a lot, it's never going to be a fun day, So yes, I recommend change your passwords. Make sure that they're diverse. Make sure they have a lot of things going in them, right? Lots of special characters, lots of @ symbols, periods, hashtags, numbers, letters. Because there is just a lot of different ways to crack a password out there. You got your dictionary attacks, which just look for words, plain text words. You got your brute force. And the more simple your password, the easier those go for them. So change your passwords, keep your games safe. It's very important, trust me. You don't want them getting your Roblox account information, being able to log into your bank account. That's a slippery slope. With that said, I do believe it is my time to disappear back into the endless dark pit that I reside, of course. So, I wish everyone, again, a very happy holidays, very Merry Christmas, and let me know what you think about cheating in video games, hacks, scripts, exploits. Have you come across anything? Have you used them yourself? These are all very interesting things that I am, looking forward to hearing the answers to. Hearing it firsthand from someone who's really experienced it is a lot different than reading about it in an article. So, I look forward to anyone out there who's willing to start a discussion with me. Thank you for watching or listening, or wherever you are. Have a good night.